I'm going to show you how to tie the DT bugger. It's the simplest fly out there on the planet. What's special and unique about this fly is that you can use this thing anywhere in the state of Utah to catch fish. I bought these hooks. It's a size 10 streamer. There's better brands than this, but this one has been working. This is the Marabou. If you can find the Marabou in more of that smoky olive, it's better, but this is the color readily available on most shelves. Here's the thread I'm using. It's an olive. We're just going to come in here and dress the hook. Now we're going to tie in our Marabou. I like to twist it up a little bit. And general rule of thumb, if it's more than twice the length of the hook, I have a hard time catching fish. So somewhere between 1 and 2, so maybe 1.5 lengths is about the right length. Okay, so we've just set that on there. Bring our yarn or our thread around here a couple of times. Pull down on it, come around the front underneath there just a little bit. That should be enough to semi-secure it. And then we'll just take this and cut it off. And I like to put a couple of whip finishes on the tail as well. So before we whip finish, let's try to build this out a little bit. I'll just kind of add some more. I'm just kind of pulling on that tight just to keep it so it can't go anywhere. Trout are kind of hard on these longer tails, and they'll tug and pull on them, and I just like to have a little bit more tension back inside the fly right there. So I like to whip finish stuff as I go. It helps the flies last a little bit longer. And then for this chenille, we've got olive. There's some olive colored chenille like this, but it has a little bit more brown in it. And it's also pretty good, but generally speaking, this does have some brown in it. It's just hard to see it. But that's kind of what you're after, is that greenish color. Place just a little bit of it right here on the hook shank so I can secure it. And I'll wrap it back to just at the start of the tail. And then once I kind of know where it's at, if there's a little too much hanging up right there, you can either wrap over or cut it. Just depends on if you're worried if it's going to make the fly have like a weird lump on it. And that's kind of what you don't want. So as you start to wrap it, you want to pull it back so it'll keep it nice and tight. You don't want your fly getting loose in the water. So I'll just kind of keep coming around on this one. And also when you wrap it and pull it, you can see it's kind of folding the chenille back. So you can either wrap it up this close to the hook or one back. But basically at that point, we'll just start to segment this in probably 3 or 4 of them, or just if you can kind of see some natural grooves where it looks like maybe it should go. There's not really a rule of thumb for that I know of. Anyways, once you get to about this point right here, we're going to come around the back of this and around the front a few times, come around the back one more time, and we're going to cut this off. And I'm pulling kind of tight to hold on to all this, and we'll just give it a cut and keep some tension on there. Then we're just going to build this head out. And some people like a big fat yarn head, and it's okay if you get these little antenna pieces up here poking up. It seems to add character to the fly. Once you get there and you build a little bit of a yarn head, you want to do a couple of different whip finishes there. So there's one, and I'll do a double wrap whip finish there again. Pull it, make sure it's tight. And I don't really cement my flies because I do so many whip finishes on them. So what'll happen is the trout will bite one of the knots, it'll get loose, maybe there's a little tag in when I'm out fishing it. And I'll just clip it off with my clippers and know that I got 3 or 4 more knots. I call them insurance knots. I don't know if everybody else does that. You go, wow, why are you whip finishing that so much? But you really can get a lot of use out of the same fly if you build them just a little bit more durable. So this thread's really strong to be breaking, so I just kind of get it to the point where I'm pulling really hard. Just come in for the cut. I'll take it out of that vise and show that to you. You can see what that looks like. So I call that the DT bugger, the Dependable Trustworthy bugger, and I fish that off an intermediate line. Notice how it's not weighted, and I fish it with an AX leader and then and a 1X tippet, and it turns out that I'm somewhere between 12 and 15 feet out with that, and I just let it naturally drift, and I'll just kind of pull it along and pulse it everywhere, cast it toward the banks. And I use this fly to probe all the lakes to see where the fish are, and then if I can figure out where they are and what they're doing, I may change flies unless they keep taking this thing, and then I'll just keep fishing it. Anyways, thanks for watching.